Are you ready to pack up the RV and hit your first RV campground? In this video, we're going to answer some common questions about camping at an RV campground, so stay tuned. We are Charity, Ben, Dakota, and Trinity. We decided we didn't want to wait for a life of adventure, so in 2017, we bought our first RV and set off to live a life of travel in the USA. We've visited over 38 states in 3 years and have many more to go. Follow along to learn all the best places to see, RV and travel tips, and much more. So we have been getting some awesome feedback from some of you guys out there, and there are so many of you guys that are getting an RV for the very first time and hitting the road and traveling with your family, which is so exciting and something that's near and dear to our hearts. So we wanted to make a video for you guys on what to expect when you get to an RV campground and what does some of this lingo mean that RVers are using and what to really expect from the time that you get there till the time that you leave. So there's something for everyone in this video, and maybe you've been camping for a while, but we bet you're gonna learn something new and take something away from this video as well. So make sure you watch to the end and then leave us a comment and let us know what you thought. So the first thing that we want to talk about is full hookups, and what does full hookups mean, and do you need a full hookup site? So depending upon what type of RV that you have main utility hookups in your RV. So full hookups means all 3 utilities, which are electric, water, and sewer. So if you have a travel trailer, fifth wheel, class A, class C, camper van, all of those types of RVs that have some sort of a bathroom facility can use full hookups. And when you're hooked up to full hookups, you operate life just like you would in a sticks and bricks for the most part, as far as being able to flush the toilet and run the water and not have to worry about where is all of this going and will I have power when I turn on the lights and all of those things. So a full hookup site really just makes it feel like you're in your second home when you're at the RV campground. If you're a new RVer, we really recommend using full hookup sites for your first few trips out. It just makes things a little bit easier, makes life easier, and a few less things to have to worry about along the way. So the second thing we want to talk about is the electrical hookup specifically. Now, there can be some confusion regarding the amp service that different RV sites have. Do you need a 50 amp? Do you need a 30 amp? What about 20 amp? So different RVs, depending upon how they're equipped, are going to run with different requirements on the types of amp service that they need. A big rig like ours needs a 50 amp hookup. Now, that doesn't mean we have to have a 50 amp site. We can use a 30 amp site or a 20 amp site using something called a dog bone adapter. And I'll put a link in the description below because these adapters are very useful to have with you in case that you need to use a site that has a different amp service than what your RV's rated for. Now, if you're using one of these, you do have to remember power management. And basically, if you try to pull more power than what that electrical hookup's rated for, well, you could blow a fuse, trip the breaker, something could happen along those lines. So if you don't have an onboard power management system, you want to be conscious of the power that you're using if you're hooked into an amp service different than what your RV's rated for. So when you jump onto that campground's website and you're looking at the different types of sites that they have, there's really 2 different types of sites. There is a pull-through site or a back-in site. Now, that's just like it sounds. The nice thing about a pull-through site is that it doesn't really have any backing skills that are required. You just pull right in and there you go. You don't have to worry about backing a trailer or backing up your drivable motorhome, anything like that. Pretty simple. We prefer pull-through sites, especially on an overnight. So if we're just gonna pull into a campground just for one night, we like the pull through. We don't have to disconnect our tow vehicle at that point. We just pull in, set up for the night, pull out the next morning, Easy peasy lemon squeezy. If we're gonna stay for longer, usually back-in sites are less expensive. So that does require, if you have a tow vehicle, to take it off if you're driving a drivable or backing in your fifth wheel or travel trailer to that site. But they're also usually a little bit less expensive, just they're not quite as convenient to get in and out of. One thing to note with any RV site, whether it's a pull through or a back in, is you want to be aware of how you're positioning your RV in that campsite. So if you have things like slides or where your utility hookups are as far as the driver's side or the passenger side, to just position your RV in that campsite in such a way that you can put your slides out without hitting a tree or a picnic table, or even then not being able to access any storage compartments that you want to access to if there's things like bushes or rocks in your campsite. The next tip is expect there to be rules and read them and abide by them. We'll put a link above for a video that we did on just campground etiquette and just how to be a better camper to your neighbors when you're camping in an RV campground. But most RV campgrounds all have some very basic rules regarding things like quiet hours, trash service. Some campgrounds will come pick it up, but most campgrounds require that you take it over to the dumpster yourself. Things like speed limits within the campground, and then check-in and check-out time. So you're going to need to make sure that you understand what these rules are and abide by them. Just makes you a happy camper and the campground owner a happy camper too. One thing that we've learned parking in RV campgrounds now for the last 4+ years, do not expect that if they say they have Wi-Fi, it's going to be good Wi-Fi or even really usable Wi-Fi. We'll put a link above for a video we did on just mobile internet and getting internet on the road. But needless to say, Wi-Fi in campgrounds is not the best, and we have yet to ever stay at a campground where we've looked at each other and said, wow, the Wi-Fi here is really good. It just doesn't happen. It's like saying, oh wow, this mattress that my RV came with is really comfortable. That just doesn't happen either. So be prepared, have a solution if you need to stay connected on the road, because the campground Wi-Fi, it's not gonna cut it. So let's talk real fast about campgrounds and laundry. Now, most of your private type RV campgrounds do have some sort of laundry service available. And here is a tip. I always save all of my quarters all year long. I don't spend quarters for anything other than laundry now. So I put them all in a Ziploc bag and keep that tucked away for when I need to do laundry at an RV campground. One thing that you'll want to pack as you're packing the RV is some laundry soap and then some dryer sheets if you use those. And a collapsible laundry bin is a lifesaver for RV campgrounds. So I'll put a link in the description below for a collapsible laundry bin that I like. I've tried a couple, and the one that I'm gonna have the link on below is the one that I feel like works best for RV life because it collapses down very, very flat and stores very easily and doesn't take up a lot of space. So here's another tip. Not all campground locations are equal or the same. We had a standing joke when we first started RV life that Ben kind of thought that there must have been some sort of filter on the internet searches that I checked for RV campgrounds near train tracks or RV campgrounds near airports, because it literally felt like most all the campgrounds that we stayed at early on were literally right behind a train track that had trains going through at all hours of the night, blowing their very loud whistles. So we've learned now to kind of take a look at reviews, also take a look at Google Maps and see what's in the area. Is it right next to a busy highway? Is it next to a train track? Are there trains that come through frequently, or is it one of those train tracks that's not frequently used at all? We hit the jackpot in Amarillo one time where we were right next to a train track and an airport. It was like bonus of the noise pollution. So make sure that you're looking at those things as you go to search for RV campgrounds in your trip planning to make sure that you have the quiet that you want while you're out and about. The last thing that we want to talk about is the difference between an RV resort versus an RV campground. Now, there are some really nice RV resorts that are out there, and those are places that we don't stay often, but every once in a while, if we want to kind of treat ourselves or have more of a vacation experience, we'll stay at one. And usually what you'll find there is you'll find nice paved sites that are extremely level. You usually find a lot of really nice amenities, such as pools that are maybe heated in the winter, and tennis courts and basketball courts, and maybe even social activities that are happening at those types of areas. Your campgrounds are usually just kind of your basic areas, either a grass site or a gravel site, your hookups, and then trash service, but not usually a lot of amenities like a pool or playgrounds or things like that. So as you're going and you're looking at how it is that you want to live RV life, take a look at those two differences when you go to make reservations, and just know what you're getting before that you get there. So you'll have to let us know in the comments below where you are in your RV journey. Are you full-time, part-time? Have you been doing this for years, or are you just getting started? We are so enjoying reading all of your comments that you're leaving on the videos, and we just want to hear from you and want to know what's going on in your world and follow along on your journey too. So make sure that you leave us a comment below and let us know. We also want to say a huge thank you to those of you that have jumped in and supported us on Patreon. It really helps us to keep focusing on these videos week in and week out. So a very heartfelt thank you to those of you that are supporting us over there. Are you ready to take your RV to your first RV campground?
Hey, no bark. No bark.
Hey, you're fine.
No.
Hey, Alaska.
No.
You're
no
fine.
Bark. It's okay.
If you'd like to see more videos with RV tips and tricks, you can check those out right over here. And if you'd like to see more videos on fun places to travel with your family and some information on where to go and what to expect when you get there, you can check those out right over